Hey there, it's Will. I just wanted to go through kind of my latest approaches to buying stocks. And as you know, I've been talking about trends, uptrends, and using some moving averages. If this looks a little messy, don't worry about it. It just takes a bit of getting used to. Um, some of these aren't really that important over time. Like there's a there's a 34 exponential moving average here. So the main things are the 50. This is the 8 EMA. But what I wanted to talk about was um, I wanted to get away from the daily ups and downs, the minutia, the volatility on a day-to-day basis. And that helps when you don't want to be necessarily on the computer all day long. And the weekly trends, they let you see a stronger trend. Like, so sometimes if you're in here, it's a very short-lived day or two up and down, if you're, or less even. Sometimes you get longer durations, but the weekly is quite nice. The other thing I'm looking at is growth stock. So instead of just trading like any stock and not really knowing what's going on, if you look at the growth, the fundamentals, the earnings, the sales growth, and some other things, relative strength compared to the market, it gives you a better sense of what's gonna go up instead of just having no idea. There are some news-driven events, but the stocks over time that do well are usually the high growth stocks in terms of the increase in the price. So I'm going to switch on TC2000 here to the weekly chart. So if you want to get TC2000, there's a free trial in a link in the description below, $25 off. If you decide to buy this on a monthly basis. I've got the gold membership, and basically I've also got real-time US data. So as you can see, when I just switched to the weekly, it's a cleaner view of an uptrend here. The other thing I'm looking at is, you don't necessarily have to put it on the chart, but a relative strength compared to the S&P 500. So what you do is you right click and you say add plot, and then you type in relative strength, or you can browse. And there's one that says 1 year versus the S&P. So you like to see that it's increasing, and there's ways to screen stocks as well. You could even look for the high. But if you put relative strength, I've got that on this chart. On this particular one, it says relative strength 1 year. So I can actually click on that and it'll sort. So if you want to add a column, you right click and you say, I can't see the plus sign. You scroll over a little bit. Plus sign, add value, and then you type in whatever you want, relative strength, or you could look at revenue growth, stuff like that. So if I sort this by relative strength, you can see NEO. This is actually a subset of stocks, but Fiverr, Green Power, and you can see that you get this smoother view of the price, and this is all above the 8 EMA to a point. And when it goes parabolic, usually that means it's gonna crash and burn at that point. The other thing that's interesting is the relative strength, and you can see it's at an all-time high. If I scroll back, there's not a lot of relative strength information, but we're at an all-time high, and it's an upslope. That's a really good sign. If we look at Blink, you can see the relative strength is increasing, and it's at a high as well. If you scroll back, it's pretty much for a long time it's been at a high. So that's a great thing to be looking for. So what I was mentioning was the fundamentals. Without getting too detailed, you can look at some fundamentals. For example, the change in revenue for a year for the last quarter. So you can see like this revenue increase. So for growth stocks, you can look at sales as well as earnings. So for now, we'll look at the sales. So that would be early stage when you have sales. So these companies are taking their sales, they're investing it, and they're not showing a lot of earnings. So if you go up here and you look at earnings, it's not great. Other stocks will have, let's see if I can find something else. So we have Purple, which is those mattresses. They got hit recently with, maybe COVID or something, but huge earnings per share increases. Revenue, percent change in revenue quarters is pretty nice, 60% change in revenue. And so even if the relative strength comes down, like you're at a 200% increase over the S&P. And so these things will go down. They may go down more than like in terms of the relative strength. Yeah, and the price, it might go down more than the S&P in that short period of time because it goes up more, like the relative strength, right? So if it goes up more, it could come down more. Like you can see the relative strength is decreasing, but then it goes back up again because it's at a higher level of relative strength. I'm just going to click on some at random here. So you can see this one, financial services. You have got this increasing relative strength here above the recent high in August. It's breaking out past this, high here. And you can see the percent change in revenue last quarter, 159%. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the fundamentals to find high growth stocks, and those are likely to go up. So look at Pinterest here. An unbelievable, like this is, people say, oh, the volatile market and during the COVID, but this thing you could buy and hold this whole thing all the way up here. It's always above the 8 EMA. And that percent gain is 256. That's unbelievable. So you can see here that the relative strength went up quite high. It's at 320 roughly right now. So that's a great looking chart. So if we look over here, you can just validate your stock choices here by looking at earnings percent growth is amazing. This has revenue and earnings per share growth. So hopefully that helps you guys. I'll be doing more about this. It's kind of like finding the growth stocks and then trading them, swing trading, or even holding them longer term. So you've got a choice of whether to sell when it hits these like volatility stops, or the 8 EMA, or use a previous low point. Let's go back here. So when this comes down, you have a choice. Now there's not really a great low recently, except for way down here, which is pretty far down. But what happens is when this triggers your stop loss, if you put it at this green dot or the 8 EMA, let's say, when it closes below, you would sell here. And then when it went back up above, you would get back in. So sometimes there's a reversal, but if you wanted to hold, if you're holding from down here and it comes down, you might decide just to hold it and see if it pulls back like that. And then you see here, it hit a low. So if you're holding from down here or down here, you could let it pull back and see what happens. But that's a good drop there. And it would trigger, like if you had it at your V stop here at the volatility stop, and then you can always get back in when things pick up again. So relative strength is an excellent, that's at the end of the day, if you're buying stocks, the other thing is when you're buying stocks, you want to buy the best, the most highest growing stocks, obviously, right? So it's not just looking at the candlestick pattern. You want to see, you want to make sure that, you know, ideally the stocks are in a high growth area. And that's where the fundamentals come in. So that helps a lot with the stocks that you pick. So then you can use the candlestick analysis on those and potentially, you know, like if you were buying here and you got out there and then you let it come back up, so you'd miss some of these drops. So you're using some candlestick analysis and trends, but you're using a weekly chart and you're also buying stocks that have high growth potential. So that's it for now. Hope you guys like that. If you want to get TC2000, check out the link below. And also there's a candlestick trading forum and a stock trading course, which goes through everything from stop losses and managing your trades and stuff like that. Talk to you guys later.